fact, I gave an example which is not even appropriate. Why? Stealing a loaf of bread will never, in an Islamic jurisprudence, get a penalty of cutting off hands. Why? Why? It needs to be of a certain value, not value of a loaf. It needs to be something valuable. It needs to be protected. It needs to be hidden away and secure.
Yeah. Now we're going in a different area, which we didn't touch on before.
Yeah, but that's the condition, though. That's the condition.
There are certain extreme forms of punishment for extreme crimes.
Yes. So what we're saying is...
still debate, I mean, how about capital punishment?
How many capital punishments are there in Islam? In Islamic law?
Oh, it's not. I'm just saying in general.
No, in Islamic law, how many are there?
I mean, there's tons in the States. I'm just saying...
No, in Islamic law, there are about 5 or 6 of capital punishment crimes. Only out of zillions of possible crimes.
Does that include Saudi Arabia?
No, I'm not talking about any country. I'm talking about from Islamic law, which is the basis of implementing a law in any Muslim country. So whether Saudi Arabia or Pakistan or Iran or whichever country it is, doesn't matter. If you're going to implement Islamic law, the Islamic law comes from the Quran and the prophetic teaching, and the understanding and the consensus of the Prophet's companions and then the students. And then there's an analogical deduction, what we call qiyas. So I've given you 4 sources of Islamic law already. Now, what we're saying is the crime and the punishment must go hand in hand. You can't punish with a chopping of hands with stealing a loaf of bread or a lollipop. Why? It doesn't have these conditions met. The conditions are quite strict. The strict is it needs to be hidden away and secured away. That means the person who is actually stealing, he is really someone not like a normal person who's trying to steal by breaking their lock or something, who has no need of lots of these things.
You didn't say that before.
I thought you knew.
I brought up the issue of the rich person who...
Sorry, I thought you knew. Sorry, I assumed you knew because when we were discussing this...
They should get their hands...
No. My apologies. I thought you understood
that
already.
That was my thing. Is there's a different approach to, justice and mercy have to be weighed in a certain way, and it's not easy to achieve both.
Taking someone's life away for getting capital punishment is not something like a trivial matter.
No, it's not.
It's a trivial matter. So that's why this serious matter means the crime that they've committed is serious equally. So if you look at the crimes that carries out this capital punishment, is actually something to do with this very, very grievous in the eyes of Islam. For example, highway robbery, where it's not stealing. Someone comes along in broad daylight and commits the theft and murder at the same time, where your whole life is unsecure. You cannot even live your life in public daylight where you're threatened for your security. These kind of crimes cannot be just £10 fine or 1 year imprisonment. Islam considers these are crime against society, where they need to have a very strict and harsh punishment to show to the individual that this is what will happen to you, as well as to the others who may be even thinking of doing that because of their, unwell mind. Let's put it that way, as we said. Not right.
The unwell mind is... Obviously, all cases wouldn't be this way, but I'm talking about, a bit of an impulse that you can't resist.
Some people, for example...
The cases are, what do you do with a person who can't resist their impulse?
So if you look at it now, there are a lot of people who have these impulses of raping. They want to rape. They want to rape women who are not their wife or their girlfriend. They just want to rape. Okay, this impulse they have. Maybe they're psychopaths, or maybe they're conditions from the very young age of watching, all these movies or whatever, encouraging them to go about and actually trying it out and saying, even though person is not consenting, because rape is without consent, right? This is relationship without consent. Even though they're not consenting, they want to actually overpower this woman and to fulfill their desires. Now, how do we deal with these people? This conditioning didn't happen overnight. This is the Islamic understanding. These kind of mindset didn't happen just overnight, just like that. There may be 1, 2, few individuals who are actually psychopaths, where they will be trained and rehabilitated differently. They will be dealt with differently. But people at large, when you are coming up with this kind of impulses to carry out your impulse and forcibly enjoy yourself on others, these impulses, Islam considers, have been developed in a process of time, of conditioning by the society. the environment, lots of different factors. When we say environmental factors, it could be that the people they're hanging around with, bad influence. It could be they're watching the media, whether it's the internet or whether it's the TV or it's the movies in cinemas, where they're somehow seeing people are getting away with it. People are forcing each other, and it gives them this adrenaline rush. Maybe I can get away with it as well. In Islam, this kind of encouragement are prevented. We don't show open licentiousness, like use this word, I can't remember how it's pronounced, where this open kind of thing about sexuality and sexual perversion or sexual immoralities, let's call it that way. There are certain sexual moral behavior and there are sexual immoral behavior. Islam doesn't even encourage this happening in society in any form, whether it's in school, college, university, workplace, whether it's the shop that you go to, the newspaper you read, the movie you see. It doesn't encourage that. So it tries to prevent this kind of thing happening and educates at the same time, so that the individual is brought up in an understanding where no, you have no right and no business to overpower someone without their consent and their will, except when they're mutually agreeing in a form of marriage, for example.
Now, you know where I'm going to go with this. It seems that, you just tell me what you think. So obviously there's been a number, I think Sweden is one place where they're saying that the Islamic community is raping a lot of the local tribes.
Islamic community, sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Is responsible for a lot of the rapes that are occurring in Sweden.
Okay. So, since Islam doesn't encourage them,
it would seem...
Are they following Islam?
No, I don't
First
know.
question you'd be asking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
First question you'd be asking. If Islam, it says, if you were to rape someone, you should be stoned to death. Obviously, these people are not even listening to that. Yeah. So it is not problem of Islam. It's problem of their Islamic understanding and application of Islam.
Well, I mean,
if they were doing it, assuming this is the case.
I bring it up because you were talking about, Islam says that rapists tend to come out of their own culture, and that's reinforced by what they're taught in their culture. And I'm like, well,
but where are they learning?
These guys are in an Islamic culture, when they're going out and raping, that doesn't seem to be.
When you say Sweden, is open pornography available everywhere in Sweden? Maybe there is. Maybe it is. Maybe they're conditioned by this openness of sexual immorality in our understanding. And that is somehow conditioned them.
They have that problem, and they have the same access to the porn. It seems that it's. No, I don't have figures on this.
I don't know these figures anyway. But
exactly.
Talking from assumptions.
The way the media is reporting it, I will say that there must be some credibility.
I would say. We need to look at.
The Swedes are not doing it, and the Muslims are given the same access to the same pornography.
But obviously, clearly, it's not a Muslim problem, or an Islamic problem. It's a problem of certain individuals who are not applying Islam to them. And the question should be asked is, why aren't they applying Islam to them? What is conditioning them not to apply Islam to them when they are Muslims?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, but you're kind of just. And then
I'm not brushing it aside. I'm simply saying, Islam is not the problem. Muslim who are not applying the application of Islam on them.
You're telling me if you don't apply moral principles to your life, then you don't act morally. And we can all say that. It doesn't seem that Islam is...
But that cannot be a counterexample, though. I mean, when you use this as a counterexample...
No, I was just saying that, I don't know, you kind of made it seem like Islam is giving something special that...
No, what we're saying is...
some special teachings the rest of us can't give, and that's why,
Islam gives teaching which is far-reaching for everyone to even see and compare, accept, or do whatever your society wants to do. This is your society. But Islamic society has a particular framework, and based on that framework, the society should flourish. And at that point, it did. The point Islamic society came into decline is an interesting point to study. Why did Islamic society decline at one point, when it was the peak of civilization? We well know that at one point, Islamic society were a peak of civilization where the East and the West, they were all going to that society to learn, to develop, to progress. They were declining for various factors. One of the important factors is their linking with Islam was getting broader and broader, meaning what? They were moving away from Islam and the application of Islam. So the desires overcame many of them. The rulers became corrupt, they corrupted the people. The people became corrupt, they corrupted the ruler. So you had a vicious circle of this corruption and non-application of Islam, and eventually it came to a point where it will crumble, and it did crumble. It's a very crude way of portraying the decline of the Islamic society, but this was one of the major points in the decline, where they were removing away from the Islamic teaching, Islamic ethos, Islamic application of its values, and that's why it declined. When it was applied, prosperity. Prosperity, whether you were a Muslim or non-Muslim in an Islamic state, everyone was prospering. The Jewish people were prospering, the Christian people were prospering. They were in higher status in the administration and so on. That happened because the holistic application was there. Today, we don't see this kind of thing happening because Islam is not applied holistically. That's the problem. Holistic application. For example, if you give your child all the money, says don't steal, and then he goes to a gang culture and says stealing gives you power and dominance. Like if I were to rob someone by force and so on, it makes me a very what's it called?
Call it juice in it.
I don't even know. Yeah. So it's not because of his stealing of property. It's because of something else.
Stealing for power.
For power. So that's what. So we need to impart this teaching and this understanding to our youngsters as they grow up. Because we're not doing this enough, sufficient enough, and that's why people are growing up with minds which are, as you will say, messed up.
Ken's a good lad though.
Anyway, it's been nice talking to you. We'll talk again. What's your name?
Ken.
Ken, it's a pleasure speaking to you, and we can talk again. And look into Islam, and especially on this issue about Islamic crime and punishment, and the conditions that are needed. And then you can see, because your concept of God, you're agnostic to it. But if there was a God, you would expect the God to be just and fair. And this is where you can link that. Okay?
All right.
Take care again.
See you.
See you later. It's getting longer and longer.
It's good. Tell me it's not good.